Welcome to Trending Impact, the show where we break down what everyone is talking about and why.
Today we're looking at the architecture of modern stardom. It's a really fascinating case study where you have this traditional Hollywood success, the big blockbuster role,
Right.
and it has just perfectly intersected with the algorithmic push of like fan culture and social media.
Exactly. And our focus today is entirely on Xochitl Gomez. This isn't just about, listing her film credits. It's really about trying to understand the engine behind her, or her explosive virality. We're seeing this massive online interest that spans everything from her major studio roles, her appearances, and I think crucially this continuous digital momentum that's just fueled by platforms like TikTok.
Yeah, so our mission today is to essentially reverse engineer how a modern Gen Z star
Yeah.
is manufactured. How do you get from a young actor landing a pretty significant but still supporting role to becoming a constant trending fixture?
A face that everyone just recognizes instantly in fan montages and all over social media.
Exactly. So we need to pinpoint the specific nuggets of her career and, maybe more importantly, her public persona that are sustaining this incredible visibility.
Okay, let's unpack this momentum then. And I think we have to start right at the foundation. Who is Xochitl Gomez? And how did she get that initial launch pad?
It's the only place to start.
So when we talk about Xochitl, we really are talking about a true new generation of talent. She's an American actress born in 2006.
And that date is so important.
It's essential, isn't it? Because it immediately frames her as one of the youngest performers who is, right now, navigating this really high-stakes Hollywood ecosystem. She grew up with the internet.
Yeah.
And that's so critical to how her fame has been both managed and consumed by audiences.
But looking at her early career, she didn't just, materialize out of thin air onto a Marvel set. She built her foundation in a pretty traditional way, actually.
Early acting roles, right? Short films and things like that.
Exactly. Short films, some children's productions. It's that essential groundwork that shows a real commitment to the craft. But it's the transition points that are so revealing about how careers get accelerated today.
Absolutely. The critical pivot point, I think, before the whole Marvel machine got a hold of her was the streaming launchpad.
Oh, for sure.
We have to talk about the significance of her work on Netflix, playing Dawn Schaefer in The Babysitter's Club. That started in 2020.
And that series gave her an immediate global footprint. But it was so much more than that. It gave her immediate algorithmic relevance.
What do you mean by that specifically?
Well, streaming platforms now serve as, I would argue, the most essential launch pads for young talent. They completely bypass the slow build of, say, local or even national broadcast TV.
Right.
And you have to consider the context. The Babysitter's Club launched right when global streaming consumption was peaking. And its audience, young adults, teens, they are incredibly digitally savvy.
It's such a fundamental difference from the past. A young star maybe 30 years ago might have become a household name, but only in the U.S. through a network sitcom.
Right, slowly over years.
But landing a major role on a platform like Netflix means you're reaching millions of potential fans all at once in Tokyo, London, Sao Paulo. She arrived globally, almost simultaneously, to the exact demographic that drives today's viral trends.
Precisely. And that specific role, a really beloved character in a modern adaptation of a classic, it gave her instant credibility and established this large, pre-existing, and crucially, a loyal fan base.
That foundation is non-negotiable for what came next.
You can't skip that step. She had a base of engaged fans who were just excited to follow her to whatever she did next.
And that next project was the moment that really just changed everything. The breakout role. She rose to this massive recognition after being cast as America Chavez in the 2022 blockbuster Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. Now, this isn't just a role in a franchise. This is an immersion into one of the largest, most discussed media landscapes on the entire planet. The MCU.
And the character of America Chavez is almost designed for maximum cultural impact and, frankly, online debate. She's defined as this multiverse-traveling superhero whose powers are tied to one of the most complex, speculative concepts in all of Marvel lore.
So she's immediately placed within this incredibly complex, fan-driven world.
And her character literally holds the keys to limitless story possibilities, which, as we'll get into, just fuels this immediate, high-level, and often very polarized fan investment.
Okay, so she's handed this incredibly high-profile, complex character. What did the initial critical reception focus on? Because that feedback tells us a lot about the qualities that would later make her so effective in the viral sphere.
That's a great question. The sources really highlight specific critical feedback from the film's release that, in hindsight, was basically a roadmap for her digital appeal. There was immediate praise for her energy, her comedic timing, and her youthful presence. Critics were essentially pointing out her innate charisma and screen presence. They were validated the qualities that algorithms would later just grab onto and amplify.
Let's break that down a bit. Why is something like comedic timing more important now for a young star than it was, say, 20 years ago?
Because today's viral content economy, it thrives on reaction and brevity. Comedic timing is what makes a line repeatable. It makes it meme-worthy.
Ah, okay.
Think of how she delivered her lines in the film. It often contrasts the epic world-ending stakes with this kind of Gen Z deadpan humor.
Right.
That's not high drama, it's micro-content gold. If you don't have that natural energy and that comedic knack, your 5-second clips just won't circulate. She wasn't just a strong actor. She had this undeniably punchy presence that resonated instantly.
So we have the foundation, steady foundational work, a global streaming launch that built a core loyal fan base, and then a mega franchise role where her key characteristics, her energy, her humor, were immediately flagged as these major strong points. This leads us directly to the present. We know the launch pad, but how is the rocket currently being fueled? Why is she trending right now?
Well, the first critical mechanism to understand is that her current trending status, it isn't dependent on a single event. It's not like she just had a movie premiere or won a big award.
It's more complex than that.
It's a constant, powerful convergence of factors. You have an endless supply of viral fan content, the constant push of new project rumors, and just this sustained career momentum. It's a self-sustaining stack of digital activity.
It really is the viral engine in its purest form. And it's being fueled massively by social algorithms, specifically TikTok. This is where the overwhelming popularity of viral TikTok edits and fan montages plays such a central, nonstop role.
They are truly the lifeblood. A traditional studio might promote a film for a 3-week window, maybe a month.
Right, and then it's over.
But fans, driven by their passion, create content that lives and circulates endlessly. And we're talking about very specific types of edits. They often feature these high-energy cuts focusing on her reactions to co-stars, or quick snippets of her delivering a sassy comeback.
And they're always set to that same trending audio.
Always.
Yeah.
Usually audio that denotes confidence or unbothered energy.
Can you give us a concrete example of the kind of moment that gets turned into one of these recurring fan edits?
Oh, absolutely. One huge category is the behind-the-scenes content. So, for instance, her interviews during the Doctor Strange 2 press tour.
Okay.
There are these specific short clips of her reacting to awkward questions with a kind of confident eye roll, or clips where she laughs off a really complicated question about her character's powers with this genuine, unscripted ease.
And fans will just loop that.
They'll loop those 5-second reactions with captions like, "My face when my boss asked me to work late." And it gives the original moment a second viral life, completely detached from the film itself. These micro-content pieces ensure constant visibility, and it's totally independent of the official marketing machine.
And this is where the analysis gets truly fascinating for me, the relatability quotient. We can see so clearly that her public persona connects deeply with her audience. The sources say that recent interviews highlighting her humor and relatability are huge online drivers. She's praised for authenticity and confidence, and that creates this strong, palpable link with younger viewers, especially Gen Z.
And this idea of authenticity is a foundational pillar of modern Gen Z celebrity culture. They just reject the overly managed, highly polished press tours of the past.
They can see right through it.
They can. So when Xochitl Gomez appears in an interview, or especially on her own social media, she comes across as genuine and unpolished. That relatability drives millions of shares because it's telling the viewer, hey, she's like me, she gets it. She just also happens to be a superhero.
But doesn't relying on authenticity put this, this unsustainable burden on a young performer? It forces them to always be on. This is kind of the authenticity tax, isn't it?
It absolutely is. That's the critical paradox of Gen Z fame. The audience demands transparency, but maintaining that illusion of casual, unfiltered reality requires continuous, careful engagement.
So it's a performance of authenticity.
In a way, yes. Her ability to navigate that tension by, occasionally posting something genuinely casual or reacting to a meme about herself, it demonstrates an understanding of the medium that a lot of older stars just haven't grasped. Her confidence in her own identity, as fans have noted, is what makes that performance of authenticity feel believable.
And her appeal goes beyond just her on-screen roles or her humor. We also see fan praise for her activism and positive public persona. This suggests her appeal has a sort of moral or social dimension that anchors her trend status in something more substantial than just a film role.
That's a crucial differentiator. Having a clear, positive public persona, especially when you align with social causes, is increasingly vital for high-profile young stars. It signals that her appeal transcends just entertainment.
She represents certain values.
Exactly. For instance, her public discussions about representation and identity are cited by fans as a reason for their deep loyalty. And that loyalty, it acts as both a shield and an amplifier. It gives fans more reasons to share and defend her content against online critics.
We also can't ignore the industry rumor mill as a constant source of trend fuel. We see this continuous flow of rumors or confirmations about new movie or series roles.
Yeah.
The speculation itself sustains the trend, even if the projects are totally unconfirmed.
The expectation of her future is as clickable as the reality of her present. You have Hollywood conversations about her potential long-term trajectory. Is America Chavez going to lead a young Avengers lineup? Is she eyeing major dramatic roles outside of Disney?
And all of that translates directly into search engine interest.
And fan discussion. When entertainment outlets even just discuss her potential move to a new streaming series, that speculation acts as free, sustained publicity. The potential future is this unfolding narrative, and fans are eagerly waiting for the next chapter.
So she's successfully bridging that old school studio pathway, the massive franchise role, with the new school digital landscape of constant personality-driven content. But this isn't just about an individual career. It signals something really profound about the broader cultural landscape, I think.
That is the core insight here. Xochitl Gomez isn't just an individual success story. She represents a new wave of Gen Z actresses gaining traction through streaming platforms who are perfectly adapted to the modern media climate.
She's a talent molded by the digital landscape.
Completely.
Yeah.
A landscape that values both high production quality from, a Marvel film and immediate personal accessibility from her TikTok.
She really is the embodiment of the new Hollywood model, where cultural impact is measured instantly. We see her position in these broad, significant discussions about representation, diversity, the future of young talent in blockbuster cinema. That cultural weight just amplifies her trending status far beyond a typical actor who just landed a supporting role.
And that cultural weight ensures she's being discussed in academic circles, news outlets, and fan forums all at the same time. Her casting as America Chavez, a queer Latina superhero, inevitably drew wide discussion about who gets to be a superhero and what those heroes look like in the 21st century.
So every interview, every piece of news about her is seen through this lens of cultural significance.
Which naturally drives up search volume.
And of course, we have to revisit the ultimate accelerant, the power of the MCU platform. The sheer scale of Marvel just ensures global interest. The sources note that MCU films inevitably fuel major online attention around their cast members.
The magnitude of the Marvel fan base means that even a newcomer achieves a level of visibility that would otherwise take decades to build. For Gomez, landing a character with such immense narrative potential meant her career trajectory was instantly accelerated and placed under a microscope.
She went from being a promising star on Netflix
to a global phenomenon overnight, purely due to the size of the Marvel machine.
But as you pointed out earlier, high search volume doesn't always equal universal praise or simple popularity. We have to introduce the nuance of polarization here.
Yes.
Because that's a major driver of engagement. The data shows that high search volume can also be driven by debate and online friction.
This is a crucial distinction that differentiates a successful, sustained trend from just a fleeting moment of popularity. The sources specifically highlight internet polarization regarding MCU Phase 4 performances. That debate actively contributes to higher search volume and discussion around her involvement. Polarization, especially when it's handled with a certain level of sensitivity, is highly effective content in the digital economy.
Let's clarify this for the listener. Why was her specific involvement sometimes a focal point of this Phase 4 friction? Was it the character, her performance, or the bigger narrative?
It was a complex mix, but it largely focused on how the character was handled narratively within Doctor Strange 2. Some critiques focused on the writing of America Chavez, feeling that the character, who's immensely powerful in the comics, was kind of reduced to a plot device who just needed saving.
Which would be disappointing for fans who are expecting a more dominant introduction.
Exactly. Others were just experiencing fatigue with the whole multiverse concept itself. And because Gomez was the new face anchoring a controversial plot element, she inevitably became a lightning rod for broader fan disappointment with the MCU's direction, even when critics were praising her personal performance.
So the negative discussion, combined with the positive,
keeps her name in headlines and algorithms constantly. It's a feedback loop.
So even the intense, sometimes negative debates about the franchise's direction involve her deeply. The specific online themes include these continuous debates about Marvel's direction and whether she will return. This really highlights how deeply invested the fan base is in her character's future, even if they disagree on the past execution.
It demonstrates her immediate establishment as a central pillar of that franchise. The debate isn't about if she matters, but how she will matter in the future. Fans are speculating, arguing, creating these theoretical story arcs. They're actively collaborating on her character's narrative future in their discussions.
That collective mental energy is the highest form of digital fan investment.
It is. It proves she's a significant cultural touchstone in the whole superhero conversation.
And that conversation has really moved past just her character's powers and into her inherent appeal, which leads us directly into the language of the fandom itself, the memes, the edits, and the massive online investment in her personality.
One of the most telling indicators of sustained popularity is the specific language fans use when they're talking about her outside of, like, a film review context. They're just drawn to her candid, humorous, and grounded personality. That personality is the currency of her fame now, maybe even more than her character's ability to punch star-shaped holes in the multiverse.
It's that raw, unfiltered appeal that allows for maximum memeability. But we need to analyze a very specific cultural term that repeatedly shows up in fan discussions. The claim that she has main character energy.
Yeah.
What does this culturally specific phrase actually imply about her confidence in her presence? And why is it the ultimate compliment in the digital space?
That phrase is a sociological goldmine. Main character energy is the highest praise you can get in the digital sphere because it signifies this undeniable self-possession. It's a term born from TikTok culture, where individuals assert that they are the central, captivating figure in their own narrative, regardless of the setting.
So it implies a person who just commands attention naturally.
Yes, often with a subtle confidence, making them the focal point of the meme, the subject of the conversation, the gravitational center of a room.
So it speaks directly to that authenticity and confidence we were talking about earlier. It's the audience validating that her internal self-perception as someone who is central and confident is actually externally true.
Absolutely. When fans ascribe that energy to Xochitl Gomez, they're confirming that she doesn't appear, subservient to the Hollywood machine or intimidated by her famous co-stars. She carries herself with this genuine ease and wit that makes her immediately engaging. She has that magnetic quality that makes every moment she's in feel important.
And this energy is what gets translated into specific viral content. Let's get into the details on the type of content fans are actually circulating. We're talking about edits featuring iconic lines or funny behind-the-scenes moments. What are some of the common tropes we see?
There are two main buckets. First, you have the reaction shots. Fans love clips of her reacting to her co-stars, Benedict Cumberbatch or Elizabeth Olsen, with this kind of amused skepticism. There's one frequently circulated edit that features her side-eyeing a particularly dense piece of MCU lore during a press junket. And the caption is just, "Me trying to follow the timeline." It establishes this bond with the audience that also understands the absurdity of the franchise sometimes.
And the second bucket, what's that?
The second is the pure personality content. We see detailed discussions about her dancing, her social media posts, and her personality-driven appeal. For instance, fans will circulate clips of her demonstrating a spontaneous dance move, or a really candid Q&A where she talked about her personal life with humor.
It's her social media fluency.
Totally. Her willingness to engage with the Gen Z language of sarcasm and self-deprecation, it just signals that she understands and respects the digital medium they live in.
So it's not just her acting skill being dissected, but her entire public presentation.
Yeah.
And securing that early loyalty is just crucial for career longevity, isn't it?
It is the bedrock of a stable, modern career. Building a dedicated, digitally native fan base early on provides a stable foundation that can weather, potential career turbulence or even a few box office disappointments.
Because they're loyal to the person.
Exactly, not just the project. The consensus online is that her versatility and her expanding portfolio suggests she is poised for continued growth, which means the fans are invested for the long haul. They trust the persona they've seen online.
And this shifts the discussion dramatically, doesn't it? It moves away from what she's doing on screen to what she could do. The communities are actively debating her potential as a future A-list star.
This is the ultimate aspiration that's being fueled by the virality. The journey from viral sensation to sustained A-list status is the narrative being constructed in real time online. She's already achieved the critical mass of recognition and trust.
So the speculation now is about whether she can carry a film outside the MCU?
Exactly. Or if she'll take on roles that could get critical acclaim beyond the superhero genre.
It's a common pattern. The sources suggest that rising actors often become trending subjects due to a single viral moment. But in her case, it's a constant stream of viral moments layered onto a massive, career-defining franchise role.
It's fame acceleration on steroids.
Which brings us to our final synthesis. We've traced her journey. We've analyzed the mechanism of her trend. What is the fundamental takeaway from all of this?
The summary of modern fame that we find in Xochitl Gomez's career is, well, it's strikingly clear. Her trending status is the result of aligning traditional blockbuster fame, the immense global gravitational pull of the MCU, with the instantaneous, personality-driven hype machine of social media, primarily TikTok.
It is the perfect calibrated blend of institutional power and grassroots digital enthusiasm. And it really highlights why rising stars capture these huge bursts of online attention. It's not just talent anymore.
Right.
It's the combination of that talent with the demonstrable authenticity and high charisma that the social media landscape absolutely requires for mass engagement.
And charisma, in this context, is what makes a moment repeatable and shareable. It's what makes a fan feel personally connected. If a star isn't perceived as authentic, if they seem guarded or overly managed, the digital machine it rejects them.
And Gomez clearly has that key ingredient.
She has the key ingredient that the algorithm feeds on, which allows her to become a prototype for this new era.
So looking at the industry implications, this is really profound. We need to reiterate the central point that social media has become central to building fan bases for emerging stars, and it's accelerating careers that previously took decades to mature. Xochitl Gomez represents the template for Gen Z Hollywood talent, a talent shaped by algorithms, by streaming services, and by the expectation of constant personal connection.
She is the modern success story. She proves that the distance between starring in a Netflix adaptation and having your potential A-list career debated globally can be collapsed entirely by leveraging digital fluency and landing the right culturally resonant role at exactly the right time.
So we have to leave our listener with this provocative thought about this constant acceleration. What are the long-term pressures on a star whose fame is built not just on films, but on this constant, personality-driven online performance?
That's the real question.
When the audience demands total authenticity and continuous engagement, where does the performer find the space to simply exist outside of the narrative? And is this news speed, is it even sustainable for human beings who need privacy and time to grow? That is the question this level of trending visibility forces us to ask.
Indeed. It's a fundamental challenge to the traditional concept of celebrity longevity.
That's all the time we have for this deep dive into Xochitl Gomez's viral career momentum.
Next episode, we're unpacking the Cloudflare outage, how a few minutes of chaos turned into a global trending moment.
See you next time.